We'll begin with the broadband accounts. Broadband accounts are rapidly growing in the region. The penetration of internet services is increasing like never before. If we take a look at the penetration levels across the MENA region countries, you can see that the GCC countries, of course, lead the way. They have the highest penetration. By the way, this is the penetration of accounts, not users. You have to keep in mind, of course, you already know that, but every account is used by multiple users. So anyway, the GCC countries lead the way. Kuwait has the highest penetration level of accounts with 19.1%, followed by Bahrain, 13.8%, UAE, Saudi Arabia. As for Jordan, we come somewhere in the middle with 5.2% internet accounts penetration. And this is by year end 2014. Now, if we take a look at the cellular penetration levels, we have reached a point where the majority of the countries in the MENA region have exceeded the 100% penetration levels. And some of them actually exceeded that number by far. For example, if you look at Qatar, it's 188.4%, the highest cellular penetration rate in the MENA region. UAE also has a penetration level of almost 190%, Kuwait 185%, Jordan is among the highest, by the way, it's 166% by year end 2014, and then we go to other lower income and some countries with turbulences such as Syria and Yemen, where they have low penetration levels of 63% in Yemen and around 59% in Syria. Mobile broadband, as it was mentioned before, mobile broadband is booming in the region. It's now available in 17 countries in the MENA region, basically all the Arab countries with the exception of Palestine and Yemen. These are the only Arab countries that do not have 3G services so far. If we take a look at LTE networks, they are also booming. The services are now available in 9 countries in the region, including Jordan, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, and Algeria. By the way, for Algeria, they have fixed LTE. They have launched the services a year ago. Okay, so in an upcoming report that we are publishing, we have analyzed the spectrum acquisition fees. I'm sure that Orange will agree with us on this point. Jordan has the highest acquisition fees. By the way, this calculation is based on the annual price. For example, if the duration of the license is for 10 or 15 years, we divide the fees by the number of years, and then we divide it by the bandwidth by the population. So taking this calculation into account, Jordan leads the way. We have the annual price of 0.05, remotely followed by the UK, it's 0.0176, then Saudi Arabia, then Bahrain, and France. Okay, so basically, yes, the prices of spectrum acquisition in Jordan are among the highest. And this not only includes prices in the region, but also globally in a number of European countries, such as the UK and France. Okay, now also in an upcoming report we're publishing, we have focused on the percentage of data revenues out of the total revenues of operators, of mobile operators. Basically, the percentage of data and the importance of data is increasing for all the mobile operators in the world. If we take a look at operators that have launched data a while ago, such as ones in the UK, Germany, Spain, you can see that, for example, for Telefonica UK, the data revenues constitute 57% out of the total revenues of the operator. Telefonica Germany, it's 50%. Telefonica Spain, it's 39%. Okay, in Brazil, they are doing 34%. Taking a look at the Arab countries, the percentage is lower. However, we are witnessing rapid growth in the percentage and in the data revenues as an absolute figure. For example, Zain Sudan only has 6%, but they are witnessing a huge growth year over year in data revenues. MTN Sudan also has 15%, Zain Saudi Arabia 17%, The highest operator that we have analyzed, according to this equation, was Zain Kuwait in the MENA region. They had 31% for Zain Kuwait and 31% in Zain Bahrain. Okay, so data is not the only revenue stream for mobile operators. Mobile operators, they are basically trying to find other revenue streams than the regular channels that they used to use before, such as just providing minutes and SMS to people. So in addition to data, also mobile money deployments across the Arab world are booming. We have deployments in Morocco, Algeria, we have here in Jordan, Lebanon, Bahrain, Qatar, Sudan. And by the way, mobile money has a huge potential in the region because of the high percentage of people who are unbanked in the region and who would actually prefer to use their mobile phones to use payments to merchants and to transfer money to each other. In fact, the most successful example of mobile money is in Africa, where a huge percentage of the population is not banked. So mobile money services in Africa are actually a very important revenue stream for the operators there. So now let's go through some findings of a number of surveys that we have conducted in the MENA region. These are the findings of mobile application surveys we have conducted in Jordan, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia. And this basically shows the adoption levels of operating systems for the people for the smartphone users in the three countries. Expectedly, Android has the highest percentage. It has 53.5% market share in Jordan, 59.3% in Egypt, and 53.3% in Saudi Arabia. iOS comes second if we don't take Adult into consideration, but we'll get to that later. iOS basically has an 11.4% market share in Jordan and a 4.8% only in Egypt. Saudi Arabia has 23.5%. BlackBerry is nearly finished in the region, only 0.2% in Jordan, 0.9% in Egypt, and 6.6% in Saudi Arabia. Now, this also shows an important finding that there is a massive percentage, or not a massive percentage, but around 30% of people who are actually unaware of their operating system. Moving on to the next slide, another survey finding. This is from a survey we have conducted in Jordan, the mobile app survey in Jordan. It revealed that 24.3% of smartphone users are actually e-commerce or m-commerce users. Okay. Now, of these 24%, 20% use both m-commerce and e-commerce, while 44.9% only use e-commerce and 35.1% use m-commerce. The way we have defined it is e-commerce, basically buying products online through a laptop or a computer, and m-commerce is through the mobile phone. Okay, so what do people buy? For example, in Jordan, the most popular item bought online was clothes. This is for e-commerce. Clothes was purchased, or 53% of people who reported buying products online reported buying clothes. Electronics came second with 27.5%, then cosmetics and accessories, and then comes hotel reservations, followed by airline tickets, car parts, and the other. Now, for m-commerce, it's very similar. The percentages are basically very similar to those in e-commerce. The consumption patterns are basically the same. It's the same country. Clothes also come in the first place. Electronics, second place with 23.5%. Cosmetics and accessories, and then car parts, hotel reservations, and airline tickets and others. Okay, now this is from our survey in Saudi Arabia. The survey was of internet users and e-commerce users. E-commerce users in Saudi Arabia had a different consumption pattern. Electronics and exercise equipment were the first and the most common item purchased, and actually it was a tie with clothes. Both of them got 56.4%. So basically what Saudis buy are electronics, exercise equipment, clothes, cosmetics, and accessories. This is remotely followed by furniture and houseware, then books, software, online content, automotive parts, and then DVDs and CDs. Okay, now coming to the payment methods used in Saudi Arabia by e-commerce users. Credit cards were the number one purchase method in Saudi Arabia. 55.4% of respondents who buy products online use credit card to purchase the goods online, followed by bank account transfer, then prepaid internet shopping cards, cash on delivery only had 2.7%. Of course, this percentage is a little bit different than Jordan. We have a huge percentage of people in Jordan buying cash on delivery. Okay, in Oman, and this is also from a survey we have conducted in Oman for internet users, credit cards also came first with 82.9% of people who buy products through e-commerce using their credit cards to pay for the goods, followed by bank account transfers and cash on delivery with 6.8%. Now, moving on to the media, the number of free-to-air satellite channels is still growing in the region. We have witnessed, for example, last year, by September 2014, the number of free-to-air satellite channels has increased to 751 channels, up from 699 in May 2013. If you compare, for example, in January 2004, almost 10 years ago, or 11, and there were only 100 channels, 100 FTA channels. Now we have 751, which is basically a massive increase. This is not the only trend. There is another trend ongoing about the transformation from SD standard definition to HD. By September 2014, 69 channels broadcasted in both SD and HD. These are basically channels that had an SD presence and then decided to move on and have and establish another channel or another broadcast mechanism through HD. 11 channels chose only to broadcast in HD, while the majority still broadcasted in SD only. Okay, this is another look at the findings. We have 195 channels broadcasting in HD in March 2015, compared to 134 in February 2014 and only 103 in April 2013. So the number is increasing rapidly. This is, of course, fueled by the increasing adoption levels of HD TVs and of new technologies that make it more feasible for channels to actually invest in broadcasting in HD. Okay, this is my last slide. It's about IPTV. Another trend in the media landscape in the Arab world we are witnessing right now is the emergence of IPTV. IPTV services are now available in 9 MENA countries, and there are future deployments done by both companies and governmental entities to actually encourage the availability of such services. Not only IPTV is emerging, we are also witnessing subscription-based video-on-demand services like Stars Play and Askadenia here in Jordan, to whom you subscribe and you get video on demand over the internet, such as Netflix, for example, in the US. Okay, so this concludes my presentation. If you have any questions or comments, please go ahead. Okay, by the way, we have, before we take questions, we have a credit card for Mr. Ghaith Azmi. It's a MasterCard. So if anyone lost it, we have it here at the control desk. Okay, so any questions?
Um, Mohammed, thank you for the insights and information. The stats that you put for the split between COD and credit card are very strange because most of the other research shows that the COD is in the 70-80%.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And this is a total flip. I mean, if you look at the stats from Aramex and all the different shipping providers, courier providers, they provide the flip of the stats.
Yes, definitely, because the surveys that I've showed the results of were actually done with internet users who are regularly more technically savvy than other people. Now, these people might actually buy products for someone else, but yes, of course, we are aware of the fact that cash on delivery is still very popular in the region. But as I mentioned, these surveys were conducted with internet users who are more likely to use such services. This is why. Okay, any other questions?
I wanted to check with you on the statistics of e-commerce using payment methods. Is it the credit cards through banks or the online shopping cards that banks usually issue to encourage that is the internet shopping cards, or the
No, it was
cards and MasterCards.
no.
And where did you get this differentiation from as a source of statistics?
We actually had the prepaid shopping cards, internet shopping cards issued by bank as a separate choice. So credit cards are actually credit cards issued from the banks, and the internet shopping cards are in a separate category.